On and on we walked, the four of us. Me, my girlfriend, my brother, and his girlfriend. A hope of a rescue was beginning to fade. The forest around us was suffocating and pushing up against us as we walked through the thorns and brambles of the undergrowth. Barely any sign could be seen through the treetops, but what could be seen was the dark blue of pre-dawn. We had been walking for hours and the sun never rose. My watch said it was 4 p.m. We had been walking now for about half the day. The others were starting to panic and I couldn't blame them. The surrounding forest was dead quiet. No animals made any noise and no bugs skittered underneath and no birds in the trees. The forest didn't even look the same. The trees were tall and thin, surrounded by vines of thorns, the trunks only growing 2 to 3 feet apart. I turned back to my girlfriend, Casey. She was covered with tiny scratches from the thorns, her face stained with dirt and tears. "What do we do?" she asked frightfully. I thought for a moment. We had followed the compass north. We should have come across a road, a town, or civilization. Hell, a landmark of any kind would be nice. But it was all flat ground, and the same trees and the dead silence and the unchanging sky. There was a smell, though. A wet, sour smell. It permeated everything. It even soaked into my clothes, into the taste of the food we brought. It had all started as a camping trip to the local state park. I had been many times to the park with my brother during the past, and once with my girlfriend. This was the first time we were all getting together, my brother bringing along his new girlfriend. We left the parking lot to head towards our usual camping ground on a sunny morning. It would be about a 20-minute hike to our chosen campsite. It was a nice cleared-out area, next to a pond with big jutting rocks on one side. I would climb those rocks as a kid, and my girlfriend used to sunbathe them on our last visit. Things went bad about 10 minutes into our trek to the campground. The sky darkened and the trees pushed in, getting tighter and tighter. And, of course, there was a sour smell. It flooded the area and stuck to the back of my throat. Our surroundings had become completely different and alien. It seemed like we were in a completely different forest. We were originally heading south, so we promptly turned back and headed north. We had been walking for hours now and still haven't left the strange forest. We finally set up camp for rest. We were huddled together, the trees forcing us to be close to each other. I leaned around a tree to talk with my brother Dave. Did somebody drug us, like human traffickers or something? And we just woke up here in these unfamiliar woods. That's why we don't remember the time between, I offered up. Once I took an Ambien and didn't even know I fell asleep. And next thing I know, I'm at work the next day. I didn't even remember driving or anything. Jack's girlfriend, Sharon, agreed with me by nodding her head. Nah, this is some supernatural shit, my brother Dave interjected. How do you not admit this even now? He scolded at me. And to my ire, my girlfriend nodded in agreement with him. Dave had always been a believer in the paranormal. He watched all those stupid ghost shows and was way into Ancient Aliens when that show was really big. He swore to death we had both seen a ghost when we were kids at our old house. I didn't remember any of it, and he told me I must have blocked it out because it was too world-shattering for me. I think I didn't remember it because it never happened. I wasn't a die-hard skeptic. I was vaguely religious. I believed in the afterlife. But sure, go ahead and call me a doubting Thomas. I needed physical proof before I devoted any physical action towards something. But all this was too much. Did my brother really believe we were on another planet or something? It's like the Upside Down, my girlfriend Casey said. I looked at her like she was a crazy person. We had both watched Stranger Things on Netflix together. Now she was insinuating we were in the spooky world from the show? Or we're in hell, said Sharon. I looked at her with a sense of betrayal. How could she go from being a skeptic to full-blown tinfoil hat? Her statement held in the air between the four of us. Sharon had a vacant look. Did she believe she deserved hell? It's exactly how I imagined it, she said, looking down, her voice breaking at the end. What, hell? I asked back immediately. No, the forest. I was a little afraid of camping in the woods at night. A couple of nights ago I had... Sharon paused, thinking of the words. A stress dream about the trip. In the dream we couldn't find our way out. It wasn't scary, just frustrating. Like when you dream you're back at work or at school. I used to have them when I was a sleep-deprived server and full-time student last year. My girlfriend chimed in. I would dream I would be triple sat by the hostess and I couldn't find my pen, orders weren't right, and customers were assholes. I would wake up so angry. Exactly, Sharon responded. In my dream, it was the same bland, suffocating forest. Now I'm just waiting to wake up. Since I had been nominated as the de facto leader, I told the three to change the subject. We would eat, sleep a little, and continue north. The hours passed ad nauseum over the next 2 days. We had left lots of our food supplies in my brother's car. The plan was to make a trip back for the cooler after we set up the camp. So now we only had food for the next 3 days if we rationed severely. We kept heading north, the only direction we had to follow. The woods remained the same, like a lazy video game developer just copied and pasted the same tree over and over again. The sky remained the same, a dark blue with no stars and no clouds. The only thing that changed was the smell. The sickly sweet smell got worse and worse. I felt the urge to spit because the taste was heavy in my mouth, but I needed all the liquid I had to stay in my body. The first day, there was a lot of arguing between all of us. It was a free-for-all of emotions. We all tried to rationalize what was happening and nothing made sense. The next day, we counted days by sleep. We all tried to not fight and get along. We had to work together to get through this. We marched forward like soldiers heading into an epic battle, but nothing changed. The supplies dwindled, and hope was flickering out. The third day, all hope was lost. I led us ever north, but they followed with heads down and eyes sullen. It was like we were prisoners on a death row march. When we called it quits on the third day, we all sat in separate corners, not talking. I turned my phone on for the last time. I have been conserving battery, but it was at 5% now, and I need to see something other than the forest around me to keep me sane. I flipped through my photos. The photos went back years. Me and my parents, and me and Dave, my pets, and me and Casey happy on dates. It was exactly what I needed. I called Casey over to look at the pics with me. Dave and Sharon sat separate, both staring vacantly out into the forest. It's like the back rooms, Dave said out loud to no one in particular. What's that? Sharon asked, snapping out of her daze. It's a creepypasta or internet story. It's this world beneath or parallel to ours. It's just random rooms over and over, like a video game set to create random environments. You reach it when you glitch out of reality. It's like a developer failsafe, or that's how I interpret it. But it's fake, I stated. At the same time, Casey spoke over me. Can you escape it? She asked much louder. Yeah, you can, but it's convoluted. New writers keep changing up the rules, Dave said back to Casey, ignoring my statement. I mean, it makes sense the back rooms are rooms in a city setting, but what if it's this bland forest and outdoor settings? It's not real, I almost screamed. It's a story created by edgy teenagers and 30-year-olds still living with their mothers. It makes more sense than marching north continuously hoping to magically end up back at our car, Dave screamed back. You're literally a skeptic living in a real waking nightmare. Now you look like a dumbass. I felt like hitting him, and I almost launched over and did. Casey grabbed my arm and Sharon spoke up.
It doesn't matter. We're in hell and it's real, or at least limbo," she said, breaking into tears. "Have any of you used the restroom since we've been here?" Sharon continued, her voice growing angry as tears streamed down her face. "Have you even taken a piss? Have you been hungry? We eat out of habit. Did you even taste it?"
We all sat, thinking.
"You can't even have sex. Me and Dave tried. You feel nothing."
Dave's face went bright red, and me and Casey got secondhand embarrassment from him. We knew they went out of sight the other day. We figured what was up, but we just didn't want to know the details. "It's stress," I muttered. "The body locks up. It cuts out all non-essential functions for survival. And people in wartime have been known to—" "I don't care anymore," she interrupted my feeble attempt at an explanation. "I just want this to be over. If I have to die to do so, then I want to die." At that moment, I heard 2 tremendous crashes behind me. I was the one in the group sitting the furthest north, facing back south to talk with my friends. Something gigantic moved over the trees above me. I saw Sharon look up in horror as a giant object as tall and wide as an oak tree slammed down onto her, shattering the tree she was leaning against and pulverizing her body into red mush. We all screamed and jumped up. All I saw left of Sharon was her right leg separated at the knee. I looked up to see the massive object blotting out the sky. I noticed I was looking up at the underside of a giant creature. It walked on 2 large but thin legs compared to the rest of its body. One of its legs had come down on Sharon. The other was straddled somewhere behind me. The legs stretched upwards of about 50 feet to a large bulbous black mass. The underside of this mass opened up like a curved smile, dropping mucus and spit upon us like rain. Inside this horrid, mouth-like opening were white teeth, but these teeth were white human skulls. The skulls all lined up beside each other. They all screamed down at me. And to our credit, the 3 of us took off in the same direction. Moments after escaping the campsite, the mouth dropped to slam into the ground where we had been. Trees splintered and exploded, the massive skull-filled mouth taking a giant bite out of the earth. As I lifted back up, dirt and mucus rained everywhere. We ran for at least 10 minutes at top speed. It was easy to keep track of each other, being the only other things making noise and moving in the woods. At first we could hear the massive footsteps following us, but when those faded we slowed down to a speed walk, trying to catch our breaths. "Did you see that thing?" my brother wheezed, asking the stupidest question in history. "It was a titan, like from the anime." "What? It was a blob with human skulls for teeth. I saw a clown, a giant, a harlequin clown, tall like it was on stilts. It killed Sharon." The one thing we all agreed on was that it did kill Sharon. So we kept power walking, and when the booming footsteps got too loud, we sprinted again. Even though hunger and bodily functions didn't affect us here, fatigue did. We were always tired, and we were all about to drop from exhaustion. That's when my brother grabbed my shoulder and spun me around. We all stopped for a moment. "I'll run back the opposite direction. I'll run by it and peel it off from you two." "Hell no, stop with this hero shit," I said to him. "I won't ask him, little brother. Besides, there's a 50% chance we'll keep chasing you two anyways, and I'll be free. If we stay together, we all get tired and die together. I at least have to say goodbye to Sharon. I brought her here to die. I at least owe her that." With a final, "I love you, bro," he turned and jogged off in the other direction. Me and Casey kept heading north, and the stopping from behind faded away. We walked together, shoulder to shoulder. I held most of her weight as we trudged forward. She had given up, but I hadn't just yet. The only thing that kept me going was the why of all of this. Why had all of our lives been destroyed in the matter of days? Why did the forest look like the dream Sharon had? Why did the creature look different to all of us? I had to know. "I just wish we could have found our campsite.
I was so excited for this trip. I just want to see it one more time.
And just as she wished, we staggered through the trees a little while longer. We came out into a clearing, and there it was. The campsite she had asked for. The pond with the rocks stacked up beside it. But it wasn't quite right. The pond was shaped different, and the water was clearer looking, and the rock formation on the side was bigger, like how I remembered it from when I was a kid. Casey laughed a dry laugh.
It was my death wish.
She urged me to take her atop the rocks. Instead of being 20 feet high, it was at least 30 to 40 feet. Once we got to the top of the big rock, she went to the middle and lay down, like she would when she sunbathed. I knelt down beside her and she pulled me close.
This is fine. I want to die here beside you. I just want to sleep and not be killed by that wicked thing.
She pulled me to lay down, but I refused her.
Just lay here with me. Let's just go together,
she urged. I have to know, I whispered to her. I have to know why it happened. Why do we all have to die here?
Just ask, babe,
she said. She closed her eyes and smiled.
I'll wait for you.
And with that, she exhaled, and the color left her face. Her red lips turned gray and her blonde hair turned white. I knew she was dead, just like she asked. I knelt over her and wept. Once again, I heard the booming footsteps approaching. I knew Dave was dead. The thing had caught up with him, probably when he finally said goodbye to Sharon. It was his dying wish. I stared out to the infinite trees around me. I could imagine it was the same panorama view of trees behind me also. The only difference would be the monster slowly plodding its way towards me. Just tell me why, and I'll let you kill me. If not, I'll run forever, and I'll make you chase me forever. I screamed to anyone and no one. I heard a thunderous boom behind me. The rocks shook, and I fell forward onto my face. In an instant, I felt a presence in my mind, a perverse intrusion of 1,000 tainted thoughts, and I knew things. I knew the monster had teleported the rest of the distance to appear right behind me as if it was a genie being beckoned to my command. I had summoned it. The sour stench was overwhelming, and my fear was like tarantulas crawling inside my skull as I kept from shrieking. I knew if I turned around, it would be bigger and more hideous than before. I just knew it had taken the form of something I truly feared. It was now something unfathomable and cruel to my eyes, my psyche. A monster customized to terrify only me and to kill only me. I knew it would drive me mad just to glance at it. So I laid prostrate on my face and dared not move. The forbidden knowledge spoke, and I knew now that the compass had been leading us toward this wretched thing the whole time. I knew if I pulled out my compass now, it would say north was directly behind me, directly where this thing stood. This whole time we had been marching towards our executioner, towards our inevitable death. Its stench flooded my senses, and I could hear its wet, sick breathing, like the sound of a beach whale dying of asphyxiation. Tell me why? Why are we condemned to die here? I felt a tickling in my head, and I felt a full-blown panic attack coming on. It was trying to speak to me, and my mind was about to break because of it. I had to hold on to sanity long enough to get my answers. Why? I asked again, as the tendrils of madness dug deeper. Its voice shot like lightning through my mind, 1,000 words in 1,000 different languages, all flowing around each other to form a single idea. It felt like millions of years' worth of knowledge had been dumped into my brain, and things that no one should know. But in this madness, I got my explanation, and my heart broke at the unfairness of it. I began clawing at my face and screaming. The abomination told me I was dying for no reason. It told me there are places on Earth where the veil between realities is thinner. They were once used by ancient gods from eternity past as gateways through other dimensions. gateways used by entities that existed before the Big Bang from beyond time. Entities not tied to the concepts of space and time like mortal man. Gods beyond all concept of good or evil, cruelty or kindness. These old gods eventually built safeguards around these portals to keep each other from invading other realms. My friends and I could have walked into an alternate dimension exactly like our own and never realized. But now, the portals were booby-trapped. If anyone tried to travel between realms, it would spit them out in a side dimension, a bleak non-world sealed away from reality. The world forms to whoever has been trapped here, and whoever is trapped would eventually be killed by this creature, this warden between realities. The monstrous warden showed me this plane of existence had been nothing but darkness before we showed up. As we entered it, the realm had been instantly created. As soon as we had entered, we had been condemned to die. Condemned for breaking a law we did not know, made by beings that did not care. I was now drowning in a pool of my own blood, my eyes missing and my throat torn out by my own hand. I asked one last thing mentally to the cruel warden before I faded away. Will we be stuck here after death? The answer came. No. We would pass on from this realm upon our death. I died in agony with only this to comfort me. I had one final thought to comfort me as I sunk into oblivion. You see, I was a skeptic in most things, but I believed in the afterlife. I hoped the monster was telling the truth, and at least I would escape this endless hell when I died. And just maybe, somewhere, Casey would be waiting for me.